أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد صلى على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم يوم. We're talking about Islamic lifestyles, that a lifestyle is the expression of someone's beliefs. And when somebody believes in something, when someone loves something, there's no way that they cannot show it. So therefore, when we love God, when we love the religion of Islam, and the way that our Holy Prophet taught us, it is displayed in our actions and the way that we live life. As opposed to a person that does not believe in God or a person that has a different religion, Muslims have their own way of expressing and showing their faith. And when we examine the beautiful religion of Islam, we see that actually many of the duties and obligations and recommendations of a Muslim is very exterior and very showing. For example, when you call to prayer, it is not something that's very quiet. Something that you yell and you're supposed to have a loud voice and inform people that first of all, you're informing people of your shahadat, what you believe in. You're informing everyone that you believe in Allah. You're informing them you believe in the Rasul. You're showing them that hayya ala khair al-amal, come for the best action. This is not something that's very quiet and very, you could say, personal and private. So our actions are actually very communal. And they're supposed to be in a way that we are inviting society to worship and to come towards the truth. In the same way, so we see other actions, our salat jama'at, for example, when people look at it, they see the power of Islam and Muslimin, because that prayer, even though we believe that sincerity is in the hearts, but that prayer is something that people see together. And we're showing, in a way, it is showing off, not in the bad way, riyah, but is showing the power of Islam, showing that everyone together should be doing sujood. And we're taking our foreheads and putting it in the most humble way towards God, showing that, not only believing that. So our religion is actually a religion that we are showing our lifestyle. We're showing what we believe in. So therefore, it's very hard for a Muslim to be hidden, especially sisters. Sisters that have hijab, sisters that are covering themselves, are showing life. And as you see, this is a component. Covering and modesty and chastity are key components in our faith, and we are showing that. And when you look at secularism, liberalism and secularism, one of the key components many times is actually indecency and nudity and not having clothes. And this was happened after, when you look at the Renaissance period, just to take a little trip, have your family members, you can go to Italy or different places and observe some of the statues that exist. So this new time period in the Renaissance was known to be of nudity, of statues. So our lifestyle is a lifestyle of being covered, of modesty, of lowering the gaze for men, and the covering of ladies, and how it used to be. How it used to be, and all religions had this, not only exclusive to Islam. You have in Judaism and Christianity, and other religions, the covering. So we're talking about Islamic lifestyle. So a Muslim, what we're trying to say, there's no way they can truly hide their faith. They are showing their faith all the time. And we said, well, what are they showing? We talked about the fact that they're showing one thing is monotheism, tawheed. A Muslim shows his tawheed throughout the day. If you have a pious person, and throughout the day, you live with him, you show him, you go to work with him, you have lunch with him. Every aspect of himself, he'll remember you of God. He'll remind you of God. And that's how a Muslim is supposed to be. When you look at the narrations, that Isa alayhi salam was asked by his disciples, who should we sit with, Ya Ruh Allah, who should we sit with? A person that when you look at him reminds you of God. Why? Because Tawheed is part of our lifestyle. When they look at you, believers, dear brother, dear sister, I'm sure many people, they get reminded of God. Many people, when they say, I'm with a Muslim, I get reminded of God. Oh, I should, change my behavior. The second aspect we said was walayat of Ahlul Bayt. And the love of the family of the Prophet and his family. This, again, is a part of our lifestyle. It's ingrained inside us. That can a true follower of Ahlul Bayt not show their love for Rasulullah? Not show his love for Ahlul Bayt? Where are they all the time? They go to ziyarat. What do they do in their majalis and their ceremonies? They do ziyarat Ashura, for example. When they're done with salat, they stand together and say salams to the imams, for example. When they have an opportunity, they'll go ziyarat to Karbala, Mashhad, Najaf, and many great shrines that we have. So therefore, we name our children, for example, the name of Muhammad, Ali, Hassan, and Hussein, alayhi salam, Fatima, Zainab, alayhi salam. This is an expression of our love. They came to the Imams and they asked them this. They said, the fact that we name our children, the Imams will say, Hal ad-din illa al-hub, is religion anything else but love? You're supposed to do that because when you love someone, when you love the Prophet, you show them by naming your child after them because you believe there's no other name. So again, when we look at our lifestyle and we're getting ready for the waladat of, say, Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam next week, we see that there's going to be a very amount of rejoicing and happiness for followers of Ahlul Bayt. They get so happy, the fact that God has created the best of ladies, the best of lights, comes to this world. Sayyidatun Nisa comes to this world. We get so happy. So therefore, this is, we're happy with their happiness. We're sad with their sadness. We wear black when it's their martyrdom. We get happy with their happiness. This is part of our lifestyle, and that's how we should be. We are those that remember Imam Hussein, and I recommend this, doing ziyarat, crying for Imam Hussein, listening to Matam, Lutmiya as much as you can. I advise for the youth to connect to Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, read their ziyarats, read the du'as that are from them, and don't ever separate yourself from them because we cling on to the rope of God. The third aspect of an Islamic lifestyle that we discussed was the ubudiyya, being a slave of God, being a servant of God. And this is very vivid and clear when it comes to the believer. That his back is always down, he's low, he's always facing in ruku' when it comes to God. He's looking. When Unwan Basri came to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam and asked him, and Imam Sadiq was teaching him about ubudiyat, one of the things that an abd does is he's always occupied with what God has commanded him. He's always occupied with what God has prohibited him. He's searching the world, walking the world, looking at, does this halal, is this haram, does this please my Lord, or does this cause the sakhat and the ghadab of Ar-Rahman, of my Lord. So always looking what pleases him, not what pleases myself. And abd is one that he takes away what he wants, what his own desires is, and synchronizes it with what God wants, because he knows what God wants is better. Even if his dua is not heard. Even his dua is not heard, that abd does not give up because he is a slave of God. He says, because my God is a merciful God, my God is a powerful God, maybe he doesn't want my dua to be heard right now. In the time of Prophet Ibrahim, there was a person that used to live in the swamps. And one of his dreams was to meet Al-Khalil, the friend of God. And he sees Ishaq, and Prophet Ibrahim was at different locations, different places. It was hard for him to meet this person that, Prophet Ibrahim at that time lived in Palestine. His son Ismail lived in Mecca. So it was hard for him. So he's looking, and a man comes to him one day, and Prophet Ibrahim liked this person, so he says, let's go basically to your house. And in the story it has that this person, and Prophet Ibrahim, they follow each other to this person's house, this pious person. And he says, I don't think you can come with me because, when I go home, he didn't know this is Prophet Ibrahim, just thought it was a normal person maybe, a pious person. He says, when I go home, I say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and I walk on water. I don't know if you sink in the water. They didn't know this is Prophet Ibrahim. I mean, they threw him in the fire and nothing happened to him. There's a garden inside the fire. So he says, okay, let's go. But he says also Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in the name of God. He also says in the name of God. They walk on water and they go to his house. Prophet Ibrahim was happy that this person has such a humble house, this Abd of God. But he mentions, he says, let's pray together, basically. And he says, what is your prayer? His prayer was a dua he had for 3 years. He says, I made one dua, it was never answered. Brother and sister, we make one dua, we get fed up and we get mad at God. For 3 years, imagine, an abid, 3 years he had a dua. And he says to him, well, what is your dua? He says, Prophet Ibrahim mentions to him, first of all, maybe Allah loves the fact that he likes to hear your dua. That's why he loves to delay in answering your dua. This is one of the explanations that we have why dua is not answered. One of the reasons is he likes to hear our voice. And he mentioned to him, well, what is your dua basically? He said that, I saw Ishaq. And, he was growing up at that time. And Ishaq was born at a very old, his parents were at a very old age. Prophet Ibrahim, Sarah were very old. And he says, I saw Ishaq, but I wanted to meet his father, Al-Khalil. That is my dua. And subhanAllah, Khalil, Ibrahim, that he didn't know who he was at his house and came to his house while he sings, that's me basically. That's Khalil that you're looking for, the friend of God is me. And he became so happy. So you see, sometimes the abd, the servant of God, he knows that his prayers might not be answered right then. But his lifestyle is in a way that he will always never give up and have ya'as and despair in the mercy of God. He aligns his own desires with the desires of God in a time period of humanism or human ego and human wishes is what rules the world right now. That if God is a good God, if he helps me out, if he does not help me out, he's not a good God. God has to answer my prayer or else he's not a good God. He has to do whatever. It's like a child. If you don't buy him that lollipop, if you don't buy him that, go to the toy store and buy him that toy, you're a bad dad, you're a bad mom. So this is the third aspect that we talked about, is that a person needs to realize that we are abds of God and our Islamic lifestyle is ubudiyah. Now opening up a new chapter in lifestyles, another key aspect that a Muslim has, and that unfortunately today in this time in society you notice is less and less, is a mu'min, a slave of God, has high ambition, has himmah, works for God, is always aspiring the best, the highest for himself, is never stagnant, is not in the comfort zone. Many people, it is very easy for them to get comfortable. They try to aim to get a C in this world, just average score, and somehow when the angels come in the grave to ask them questions, they'll, somehow be able to answer them and be able to, answer their way through the Sirat and Day of Judgment and slip very secretly and go and run into heaven, inshallah. So some people are like that. They are just aiming for the bare minimum for themselves. They just want to go to heaven. They don't have anything else. And they don't even want the highest levels of heaven. Just don't take me to hell. I'll be fine. Just take me to heaven. Is this a good ambition we should have or no? Should we aspire just to be minimum Muslims just to get by? Even when it comes to our work, should we be like this in our work? I'm going to give you some statistics. And I started this topic on Thursday, Dua Kumayl. 2/3, there's a survey of 3,600 workers, and 2/3 of them said they don't aspire for leadership or management positions. They are comfortable where they already are. 2/3 of them in this world. They don't want, they're happy, they're paying their rent, they have their house, mortgage, they have their car. It's okay. I don't want to cause stress. I don't want to go higher when it comes to this world. When Imam Baqir, I shared this hadith with you. Imam Baqir alayhi salam says, I have detest, in the narration, I detest those that are kasal, or they're weak or lazy when it comes to the world. I detest them. People that don't work. Why? Because many times we think when it comes to ambition, let's open this topic up. When you have ambition for the world, you say, wait, that's dunya, brother. Go be at home. Be on the couch. Relax, sleep 12 hours a day. That's not dunya. But if you wake up 5 in the morning and work, that's dunya. When you don't have time to meet up sometimes, and he's working so hard, that's dunya. You're not a good brother. A good brother is sleep. Be at home all the time. So we have a wrong impression of himma, of ambition. So Imam Baqir alayhi salam in this hadith mentions if a person doesn't have ambition in this world, he says actually for their hereafter, they're aksal. They are more lazy. A person that doesn't work for their dunya, they're not going to work for the akhirah. They're not going to work for their hereafter. So therefore, you need to be not only have ambition for this world, but not for the world itself. I mentioned this over and over. To produce, to get capital, to work, that's something else. To spend lavishly and live a luxury life, that's something different. That's something else. To produce. Imam Adi alayhi salam, was he a hard worker or not? Did he work hard? Yes, of course. Look at during the time that we always think that Imam Adi was Khan and Nashin. He was working in Medina. He had wells that he dug up. Wells by the Red Sea that he dug up. That he would take and have a business plan and would have a slave go and take water and build a well and get water out of that and start farming and harvesting and having produce. And he said after a while, he would set them free. He said, you do this, say, for 5 years, you will be free. And he had a lot of income. Ali ibn Abi Talib. Actually, he designed those so well. Because a believer, when he works in this world, does he do a good job or a bad job? He does a good job. He does a perfect job. Those wills still exist today. Those wills today, Bi'r Ali mentioned, in Medina or by the Red Sea, that last today. Because he worked hard in this world. But did he work just for the dunya? No. Ali alayhi salam, Imam Ali worked for God because he looked at this as worship. He didn't separate this from the worship of God. So his himmat was strong in the dunya affairs, not dunya by its dunya, but in worldly affairs. And his himmat and ambition was strong for the hereafter. But you notice that unfortunately us, as when you look at the communities, they don't want to improve themselves. They don't want to improve their lifestyle that they have when it comes to their monetary position. They don't want to. They think that maybe God is only in the broken heart. Maybe I have to be oppressed. Maybe I have to be poor. Maybe bala has to happen to me. I always have to be cursed at. I have to always have to be madlum. Then God likes me. But what if you're doing well and you're helping people out and people are respecting you because of that job that you have, because you work so hard for? That is also something very important for us. And that is the same God that is going to help the madloom, is going to also answer the dua of that generous person that is helping people. خَيْرَكُمْ مَنْ أَطْعَمَ الطَّعَامِ we have. The best of you is he who gives food to others. Let me ask you, someone who is starving and doesn't have money for himself, how is he going to give food to others? خَيْرَكُمْ مَنْ أَطْعَمَ الطَّعَامِ. We talked about one of the facts in front of the youth today, or youthhood or futuwa. One of the ways that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam talked about the good youth is those that have ta'am, they have a table spread for others. They're generous when it comes to others. It's okay to have money, to work hard for God, to be able to help your centers, help your brothers, have a good position, to have power, economic power. We need Muslims that have economic and financial power. So therefore we see that our ambition when it comes to the world is weak, and the same people, their ambition is weak for the world. Also their ambition for the hereafter is weak, because a lazy person is lazy. A lazy person does not want to work. I've always noticed those that strive to be the best of Muslims are those that in reality, they care for themselves the most. If you care about yourself the most, you understand you have one chance to live, one life. God will not give you another life. And therefore, you will work as much as you can. I started this topic, and Thursday night I mentioned a few of them. I'm just going to go over them because we're running out of time. That we said this, that himmat therefore means to strive for one's goal. To strive for one's goal. All of it goes back to God. Even if we work, it's for God. But we know that mankind has different needs and needs to help different people. But our main himmat is for God. We see actually in some of the traditions from Imam Ali, قَدْرُ الرَّجُلِ عَلَى قَدْرِ هِمَّتِهِ. Do you want to know the worth of a person? Look at his ambition. If he has high ambition, he has high worth. Imam Ali is saying. If he has low ambition, he has low worth. You see people that are working all the time, mashallah, these youth that we had this picnic for 2 months, they kept planning and planning and planning to do something, very nice and proper for the community. Yes, there are also those that never worked at all. They just come and thank you very much. It's good for them. We're happy that they come. But is their position the same? The person that just comes here, or that person that has meetings and planning and responsibilities and to help others and to lead, then that person. Who do you think will be Ansar al-Imam Mahdi? Who will help Imam Zaman? That person that's just sitting there, where are you, Imam Zaman? Why don't you come? Where are you? Why don't you come? I need help. Or that person says, Imam Mahdi, I will bring you back. I'm going to do something where I'm going to awaken people. I'm going to awaken my family members, my neighborhood. We're all going to be followers of you, and together we'll be prepared for you. We'll be prepared to fight for you. We look at some of the traditions I told the youth, that when it comes to the Shabab, it says, the narration says, Shabab or Shia, the youth of the Shia. There will be a call for them in the tradition. There will be a nida from the sky when Imam Zaman comes. In the middle of the night for them. When what? Everyone's tired, right? Oh, imagine your alarm clock. Someone like me, alarm clock goes off, oh, snooze, and it comes again, snooze, snooze, snooze. A call comes for them, for these youth. A call comes to help Imam Zaman. And they say, labbaik. And that same night, the middle of the night, they'd start going towards Mecca. In the middle of the night. Why? Because they have himmah. They have been practicing this. They have been working their entire lives for Imam Zaman. It's not like now they get all this ambition, now that they have been practicing. I had a martial arts teacher a long time ago. Don't think now I'm a dangerous person or I know martial arts. This was a long time ago, 20 years ago. Now you can just go like this and I'll fall on the ground. But 20 years ago, he always say, you will fight however you practice. If you practice hard, and this was full contact martial arts, if you practice hard, when you get into a fight, you will fight the same way. But if you're weak and sloppy and you're practicing, you will fight the same way. If you practice hard and you have high ambition during the time of ghaiba and occultation, and you're working hard to gather everyone, you remind yourself of Imam Zaman, then when Imam comes, you'll be ready to fight. But if you're always at your house and didn't ever come out and where is this brother? He just comes out of nowhere. Do you expect him to really be one of those great individuals? So therefore we see that our himmah needs to be high. And there's a few things that cause low ambition. A problem we have today in society. People do not have ambition. Our teacher, Sheikh Ahmad Mujtahidi, would make fun. I hope you get this joke. I have to tell some people I'm joking first so they'd get it. So he used to say that basically that time period that the students existed and studied maybe 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 150 years ago was much different than now. Not to put any generation down, but he was always amazed at how come you guys have such low ambition. He says, why don't you guys just do anything? And as a joke, he would joke around a lot. He says, you guys are like drug addicts. He says, you guys are like those that use opium. Because you're just always like this, just do this dua, do this action, study this. They just be hard. I don't want to do anything. And you say, you know what? You are worse than drug addicts. Because they get high a little bit. You don't even get high, he would say. So therefore, this is the problem that we're facing with the youth today. It's good for them to come or whatever, but you ask them, brother, do you want to learn about your religion? There's different scholars. I'm a student. There's different scholars. They're willing to teach. If it was me and I was young 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I would be chasing down and asking the ulama all the questions that I could learn as much, give them a class. People used to beg them and ask them, please, teach me this book, teach me this. Now everyone just doesn't have hal. And there's no ambition anymore. Yes, it's good to have these, but if there's a picnic, barbecue, fun, everyone, mashallah, shows up. But if there's going to be Quran, tafsir Quran, hadith, fiqh class, aqaid class, this, everyone's, oh, I can't make it anymore. Oh, it's hard. That ambition isn't there to study. That ambition is not there. So what we can do is find the problem. Why do we not have high ambition? I gave a few reasons before I'll say them. Those that, I don't know if anybody was here Thursday night. One of the main problems that people don't have high ambition is that they view themselves as low. They think they do not deserve that higher level of guidance. They don't think they deserve that higher amount of knowledge. They think that's for other people. This can be due to self-esteem problems. Sometimes self-esteem problems comes from a physical defect someone has or physical look that they have. But we always see that the prophets and imams never just looked at someone's physical. I gave this story on Thursday, I'll say it again. I think I did. There's a person by the name of Yunus ibn Ammar. Yunus ibn Ammar had skin lesions, skin disease. And a skin disease that he had that people would look, imagine someone his entire skin color and lesion disease on his skin is very apparent. It's hard for them to go out in society. Especially a society back then that they would give him trouble. They'll say, look, for example, look at you. You must have been a bad person for Allah to do this to you. Sometimes when we see bala happen to someone, we say, oh, he was a bad person. Someone is rich, is wealthy, and then they become bankrupt. And instead of comforting them, we say, oh, his money was haram. He must have been a bad person that he became bankrupt. This is wrong. This is wrong. Allah's tests are not just because someone's physical or money that He'll give them necessarily. He always loves them. Sometimes He gives money, wealth, and looks for people, and they actually use this in the wrong way and dig themselves a higher position in hell. So Imam Sadiq went to visit him at his house. He did not want to come out anymore because of what people thought. And Imam Sadiq told him this, of the story of Mu'min ala Fir'aun. Mu'min ala Fir'aun was a person that assisted Musa alayhi salam, but his hands, they say, were tied, were stuck together during the time from Musa. So something that people did not look. Maybe people would tell him, look what you did, your hands are like this. Hands, he would point to Prophet Musa, he would speak the truth, use hand gestures, and he would work in the way of Allah. So he gave him, Yunus ibn Ammar, the story of Mu'min ala Fir'aun, that he, with his say that physical defect that he had, that he would still work and that wouldn't hamper him for his work. So one way is that sometimes we don't care of ourselves. We have low, so therefore we don't have high ambition because of the physical. Sometimes it's because of family problems. The family we're from. We think that high levels of knowledge are only for the ulama family. Then your dad must have been a scholar. Your grandfather must have been an ayatollah, or else you can't get that knowledge. Many of our ulama and scholars that we have today, their fathers were simple people, normal people, traders, businessmen. And they became the most knowledgeable in their field. Very knowledgeable people, at least. We see the story of Safiya, the wife of the Holy Prophet of Islam, that was the daughter of Hayy ibn Akhtab, a person that died fighting Islam and Muslimin, and that he died and he was a Jewish person, and the Prophet of Islam married this person's daughter. So people, because they're a daughter of someone that was bad, they would tell her things, that you're a descendant of a Jew, that your Islam basically does not count, for example. But the Prophet of Islam wouldn't look at it this way. He would look at her and say that you are the father, your father is Harun alayhi salam, your uncle is Prophet Musa. Would encourage her that actually that when you're a Jew, that actually your lineage goes back to Prophet Musa alayhi salam for her and Harun. So therefore, sometimes when we think of families that we're from, my dear friends, that you don't have to always be from a very religious family to be religious. There's a beauty about Islam. Many people, their fathers had a different opinion than them. Their mothers had completely different opinions of them. They became the best of mu'mineen and muslimin. So that should not lack us to have that should not cause us to have low ambition. Another way is because of our youth, being young. Young people do not like to be, sometimes they feel that they're not being heard. They're not being respected. Young people think that their life is not that important right now. And I shared the hadith today with the youth that in the traditions, the worship of a young person is like the worship of prophets compared to normal people. Worship of prophets. That when a young person learns something, it gets engraved in stone. When an old person learns something, as if they're writing it on water. So therefore you see the Imams, hadith, different hadith that I saw, encouraging to tell the truth, tell this message to the young people, not just to the old. Yeah, old is good as well. For me, alhamdulillah, most of my followers and those that like my speech is usually 70 and above. And that's just the way that I speak, alhamdulillah, for the older people. But the young are so important, and do not think when you're young that you should not be listened to. Actually, we have that, one of the most important time periods that a person has is his youth. And that is when a person can become the best. Don't think that we have our great ulama and scholars, that they became great when they were old. They were great when they were young. Ayatollah Bahjat did not become Ayatollah Bahjat after he retired or after, he never retired, but after he became an old person. At a young age, he was worshipping God. And at a young age, he was seeking knowledge. Let's recite Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We're not over yet. I know you're so happy that you thought the speech is over, but we're not over yet. I won't allow, we're talking about ambition. So maybe 2 more hours, is that okay to give them ambition, inshallah? Because we've been here, some have been here since 12 o'clock. So keep continuing, inshallah. So, number one problem about having low ambition, we said are people that view themselves in a low way. They don't think they're worthy. But everyone is worthy. When you worship God, the narration says, God listens to you in such a way as if you're the only creation. There's no one else. Just you. How many people are there in this world right now? 6 billion? More? 7 billion? 8 billion now? It keeps going up by billions each minute, mashallah. 8 billion around? Did you count them or no? Okay. Okay, search. Okay, alhamdulillah. Around 8 billion if it's 6, 7, 8 billion. When you worship God, the tradition says that God, the way He looks at you as if you're the only creation. He only imagine in this entire earth there's only you as a human. How would that make you feel? And that's the way that God looks at you, as if you're the only person. But when we worship God, we worship as if we have so many gods. But we only have one God. One God. And it's God that we're speaking to. So know that the way that we should be focusing and having himmat is a way that when you're young, you can be able to use these at your advantage. The second thing I want to talk about is comfort seeking. One of the reasons we talked about the statistics that people don't want a better job for themselves, or they don't want to do better, is they get comfortable. They get used to it. And they get used to whatever they have, that management, they don't want that management position. There's too much stress for them. They don't want to put extra stress. Each person knows their own life. But should we be this way when it comes to our deen in religion? Should we be comfort seekers? We see that Allah in the Quran there's a very beautiful verse in the Quran that completely shatters our image of why we're created. Because many of us think still that minimal level, they still want to aim for that minimum. Many people, when you ask them, why are you created? Why did God create humans? They say, so he would find out if we're going to heaven or hell. That's why he created us, right? To see if you're going to be hell, or you're going to be of those that are saved, or those that will be punished in hellfire. But is this why God has created us? Just to see if you go to heaven and hell? How come you don't even have that view when it comes to your own children? How come your teachers never had that view when it came to their own students? No one has a student say, I have a student and I want to teach them to see if they're going to fail and be a drug addict or become a doctor or lawyer. Nobody has that. Nobody has a child, says, I'm going to have a child so that I can see if they're going to fail or they're going to succeed. The Quran talks about a very beautiful reason of why we're created, why God gave life and death. Not just for someone to go to heaven or someone to go to hell, something higher than this. The Quran mentions in Surah Al-Mulk that He is the one, خَلَقَ الْمَوْتِ وَالْحَيَاةِ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيَّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. To test you, to try you, to see which one of you has the best of actions. To test you and try you, to see which one of you will show up, to show what you're made out of, to show God. When it comes to difficult situations, I will choose you, God, all the time. That when it comes to أَفْضَلُ الْأَعْمَالِ أَحْمَزُهَا, the best of actions is that action that is the most difficult. During those tests and tries, maybe sometimes your salat, and how you have to do it in front of many people. You don't want to do it. You have to do your salat at an airport, and an airplane. At that time, Allah tests you to see, Amala, which one of you is going to now do salat for me? He's not just looking to God for one salat, He's looking for iqamah of salat, yuqimuna salat, those that establish prayers. So yes, heaven and hell exist, no doubt about it. But were you created to see if you go to heaven and hell, that's it? Or were you created to see what level you will reach? What level of guidance you will reach? You see, it's a game, almost like a game, that there's no highest level. Many young people here that love video games, they love playing them, that you keep going higher and higher and higher. This life that we have is as if the same thing. God has created us to reach higher and higher and higher. Hidayat and guidance is tashkiki. Do you know what tashkiki? In the Hausa terminology, it means a hierarchy. It has a hierarchy. There are people that are guided at level 1, people that guide at level 2, people guide at level 1,000, people that guide at level 1 million, for example. Different level. Each person here is at a different level of guidance. And each day, you're going up and down. Each day. And if you are stagnant, my friend, and you don't reach a higher level of guidance, that means you did not deserve the higher level. That's all it means. And someone like me that is not increasing in knowledge, a person that's not increasing in action, a person that's not increasing in sincerity, then all that is happening is that this was the only level that I could reach. That's it. But didn't God create you to be Khalifatullah? Didn't God create man differently than all the other creation? What happened to the respect of Bani Adam? That Bani Adam is more holier, is more sacred than the Kaaba itself, each individual. So when we look at this in that comfort zone, we realize that we were created for ahsanu amala, the best, to perform the best. And what do you think will happen in the day of judgment when they show us, wow, this is something I could have reached that stage? What stage is that? Because heaven is not just everyone is going to be at the same level. Those that are at the highest levels are those that are with Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, because they are at the highest levels. There's a person, they say that he was in the grave. And they said that he was in trouble. And the angels that come in the grave are very dangerous, are very scary. And this is a reality. The grave is a reality. And what he had done were sins. And he was getting ready, getting ready to punish him. And they say that time, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam comes to him. And we have multiple narrations, hadith, man yamut yarani. Whoever dies will see me. And what does it mean when Ali alayhi salam comes to visit someone? It means the punishment will stop. They're not going to punish in front of Imam Ali, his friend, his lover. So punishment stops for him. And you're so happy because Ali alayhi salam comes for him. And it's cool again. That fire becomes cool. But he asks him, he asks Ali alayhi salam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, but I want to be with you. What about me? You're leaving me. First, he's just happy not to be punished. You know how mankind is now. He wants something else. He says, let me be with Imam Ali. Now he sees Imam Ali, and then, the hereafter, when you see Imam Ali, the barriers are removed. You see Imam Ali differently. He says, I want to be with you. And he mentions to him that you did not act like me to be with me. Your actions were not like me. He saved him. I'll save you. But you did not act like me. You were not like me to be with me. So dear brother and sister, when we call about the day of regret, Yawmul Hasra, the day of regret, there will be those that will be next to the Prophet of Islam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Lady Fatima. Some will only see them a few times maybe in heaven. Maybe it'll be a long time and they'll see the radiance and beauty of Fatima al-Zahra, of Imam Ali alayhi salam. There'll be those that have a status, they'll be with them because they had the actions that they could be like them. That is why we realize if you don't have high ambition and you always ask, I want to be with you, and in Ziyat Ashura we just read, Ma'akum fi dunya wal akhirah, our actions also have to be like Imam Hussein alayhi salam. You can't just wish that. Inshallah, that shafa'at will happen. Shafa'at means that they'll take an average score and bring it high. Inshallah, they'll do that for us. But if you do not have that ambition, how can you expect to be with the best, with the abrar, with the best, the a'la al-illiyin, the most best that God has created? So therefore, if we do not have high ambition, you realize that you will regret, and I'm telling this to myself, we only have one chance to live, and the second thing is to get out of that comfort zone. Start studying, start worshiping. What else did you choose? Whatever you choose in your day that is Islam for God, if you have time. I said work is for God, true. But that time that you have, you can schedule classes, you can schedule coming to the masjid. We talked about the fact that I gave this hadith Thursday night, that there are those that in Mi'raj, the Prophet of Islam in Mi'raj, Allah spoke to him, Ya Ahmad, spoke to him and mentioned him. Let's give a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sayyid Ahmad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajhum. He spoke to him and mentioned to Rasulullah that there are those that say they love the Prophet. They say they love Allah, but they really don't love Him. Let me find this hadith, inshallah, and we'll end. Ya Ahmad, and I tell this to myself, ليس كل من قال أحب الله أحبني حتى يأخذ قوتا. Don't think that every person that says, I love me, you're used to that comfort zone, you're used to just staying at this level. Well, let's give a hadith to break this comfort zone. You say you love Allah, I'm telling myself, you say you love God, you truly love Him, look at this hadith. In Mi'raj, one of those private talks that Rasulullah had with God, he mentions in this hadith that, O Messenger of God, O Ahmad, is not in this way that every person that says, I love God, really loves God. Unless they do these things, unless they have this high ambition. يَأْخُذُ قُوتًا. He takes a little bit amount of food. He's not, his entire life is not looking for the best restaurants, the best food. He's not really actually that enticed by food as much. Because he loves God so much. It's not, he can have it and say, Alhamdulillah. But his lifestyle is in a way that it's not very attractive for him. وَيَلْبَسُ دُونًا. And he wears clothes that is not looking for the best of clothes. That person loves God. That person that doesn't care too much about what they eat, what they dress. وَيَنَامُ سُجُودًا. That person that loves God is that person that falls asleep in their sujood. That they worship God so much that they fall asleep in sujood. I don't know, it was a Masjid Ahlul Bayt, one of our friends, it was the 15th of Sha'ban, we were young. The 15th of Sha'ban is a night to do ihya and to worship, and one of our friends, he was doing sujood, And an hour, 2 hours, we're doing ad'iyah dua. We're young. I said, MashaAllah, how can you do sujood for 2 hours? We found out he fell asleep in his sujood. He was asleep, and we thought that, MashaAllah, this guy was doing sujood. But then I looked at this hadith. I said, وَيَنَامُ سُجُودًا. Some people, they worship God so much and they're tired. That's how they fall asleep. Someone like me, I look at my phone and device so much like this, and I fall asleep. That person loves God. The one that falls asleep in their sujood. And we have وَيَطِيلُ قِيَامًا وَيَلْزَمُ صَمْتًا وَيَتَوَكَّلُ عَلَيْهِ وَيَبْكِي كَثِيرًا وَيَقِلْ ضَحْكًا. And he cries a lot. He laughs a little. That person loves God. وَيَخَالِفُ هَوَى. That person that loves God, that he fights against his nafs. So if you don't have high ambition, and you don't have these qualities, someone I'm telling myself, then maybe according to this hadith, I don't really love God. I say I love God, but when it comes to this criteria, I do not love God. وَيَتَّخَذُ الْمَسْجِدْ بَيْتًا. And takes the masjid as his house. That house that we go to for comfort, for relaxation, the house for them. If a person truly loves God, because this narration, what it's saying, we can say, is that their entire endeavor in liddat and joy is just God, worship, masjid, and sujood. That is their joy. They change themselves so much that their taste changes, and their taste becomes heavenly. And they love spirituality more than anything else that is material. So that is a true person that loves God. And if we do not have that ambition, therefore, we will be like those that, God forbid, in the hereafter. What happened? You say, I love you, God, in a voice will be heard. They know you do not love me. You want to see who loved me? That person that worshiped God, me all the entire day. May Allah save us, inshallah, from a religion, iman, that is fake, that we think is real, but in reality is nothing but hollowness and fakeness, inshallah. May Allah make us of those that have high ambition. May Allah make us of those that our life is spent in this world for God. We remember Him in our actions. We perform actions for Him. We seek knowledge for Him. We worship God, inshallah. And may God make us of those that are liddat and joy is His worship and His remembrance, inshallah. May God make us not be of the ghafileen and those that neglect Him. May God, inshallah, raise us with the rank of Ahlul Bayt, alayhimus salam, so we can be with them, inshallah, in the hereafter. May Allah give us their shafa'at in the hereafter. Give us their ziyarat, inshallah, in this dunya. May God forgive all those that have passed away from amongst you, your family members, your friends, the founder of this masjid, the donators of this masjid, inshallah. May Allah cure all the sick. May Allah feed all the poor, give security to all those that need security, and return and expedite the return of Imam al-Zaman with his salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.